Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Self-Published Success, a show that highlights forward-thinking authors who chose self-publishing over traditional and found success in doing so. My name is John Feldman, founder and CEO of Visionary Literary, and your host for today's show. Today's guest is Kim Sorrelle. Kim is an entrepreneur, director of a humanitarian organization, a popular speaker, and the author of 2 books. Her first book, Cry Until You Laugh, is about her breast cancer experience and her husband's battle with pancreatic cancer after being diagnosed 4 months apart. Her second book, Love Is, chronicles her year-long quest to figure out the true meaning of love, a sometimes funny, sometimes scary, always enlightening journey that led to life-changing discoveries found mainly on the streets of Haiti. Kim, welcome to the show.
John, I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good. And we are thrilled to have you because you are one of the few guests that has been both self-published and traditionally published. So I'm really looking forward to getting into that, hearing your ideas, your thoughts, and sharing that with the listeners. But first, can you just provide us a little bit more information on who you are, your background, and what got you into writing?
Sure. Yeah. So my background is I was going to be the first woman president of the United States, and didn't think that I'd ever get married or have kids until this tall, dark, handsome man walked into my life, and
How
I
dare
fell
he?
head over heels. And 10 days later, asked him to marry me, and he said yes. And we have 5 kids, I had 11 grandkids. And I started my first business right out of high school. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. So I've had a lot of businesses over the years and found success that way, which is great. And I run a nonprofit organization, and I've coached basketball, volleyball. I mean, whatever, life is full and great and wonderful. And I love people, and I love black licorice.
Good. So I like the last part, but I do want to ask really quickly because I feel like with our talk today being about books and business, and the benefits of a book, but I want to highlight your nonprofit because I love when people run nonprofits. What is your nonprofit about? What does it do?
Yeah, Raise of Hope International, and we're a partnering organization. So we work with people in their own country that have a passion, a vision, a mission to help people in their own country and just need somebody to walk alongside. So they need help maybe with a business plan, or they need a building, or they need supplies, hard to have a school with no pencils kind of
Right.
thing. And always building towards self-sustainability. But they understand the culture, and they understand the language, and they understand the true need of who's around them. And so we just come and help. It's fun.
I love that. I'm glad you shared that with us because I do, big fan of nonprofits and people that go out of their way, volunteer their time to, ensure that the world is becoming a better place. So we appreciate you starting that and working inside there. So now moving into book talk, right? The your story, what I just shared in the intro, but it goes back to what you shared with me when we first connected, which really drew me to want to have you on the show was your story and the reason behind writing your books. So cancer, very unfortunate circumstances. My first question to anyone who has circumstances like these is writing. I mean, I've always heard that writing is therapeutic, like not just for me or for people who journal, not even writing books, but for you and for these experiences that you've had to live through. Did writing start as some sort of therapeutic exercise?
Really, writing started because I received my breast cancer diagnosis on a Friday afternoon via phone, not the Lifetime movie moment sitting across the desk from the doctor, huddled together with my husband. It was a cold phone call, blah, blah, you have cancer, late in the afternoon, no time to call back. And that's kind of shocking news. And so the next day I went to the bookstore, and everything seemed to be either depressing or medical. And I wanted to know what it felt like. What is it really like to have breast cancer? Are there choices I have to make? Are there things that I should know from other people who have had similar experiences, right?
Yeah.
And so I started writing, kind of as a way to update family and friends too, like I'm going to the doctor tomorrow sort of thing.
Okay.
And before I knew it, 5,000 people were reading the emails that I was sending out. And so I was writing when I felt like I should write, but I
Mm.
wrote during that time. And then my husband was diagnosed 4 months later. He died 6 weeks after that.
Ooh.
So I was writing still because I was still going through my breast cancer as well. And so I wrote for a little over a year. And the title Cry Until You Laugh is what it is because you cry. Yeah. I mean, of course you're going to cry, but you have to figure out a way to laugh again.
Well,
And then, yeah,
I mean,
that led me to my next one
yeah.
because I questioned the truth about love. Like it seems to be this mystery, is it Nicholas Sparks and Ed Sheeran kind of love, or whoever decides to define it, and it's not just between partners, but for all people, love. And with this being in my 40s, losing my husband, and figuring out what life meant because we were no longer going to grow old together like I planned on. I wanted to make sure I was doing life right. And so I decided I would dedicate a year to figuring it out. And when I did it, I wrote along the way, and I thought I need to do this for me, whether it's ever a book, whether it's ever in anything, I need to do it for me. And I think so. The question about the therapeutic, 100%,
Yeah.
absolutely. And whether you keep it to yourself or you put it out there, I don't know if it matters. I put it out there because, everything in my life, I guess I put out there, but um, absolutely therapeutic to get it out and get it on paper.
Yeah.
There's something very healing about that for sure. And so, yes, great therapy,
Yeah. And
better than a therapist.
hmm, that's good to know. I mean, better than a therapist. Not that we're trying to, pull people one way, but all that you went through is absolutely incredible that you're able to be where you are today. An international book award, which we'll talk about toward the end, but you were able to get through those rough times, and obviously you're helping people. Even before the books, with your emails, you had 5,000 people reading them, so there were probably many people like you searching for the answers that you were looking for, and there was nothing out there. So your writing not only helped you, but it helped all these different people. And then obviously, as you went on to publish your books, they helped people as well. So I guess, for what it's worth, I mean, all that you had to go through to come out the other side, helping yourself and helping your readers, is something very positive to take out of this.
Well, I think that's why a lot of people write,
Yeah.
because if you can take your pain, if you can take what the crappy stuff you go through and use it for good, then that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why go through the crappy stuff,
Yeah.
But if you can help others, and a person who's been through breast cancer relates to a person who's going through breast cancer way different than someone who's ever never been there, or lose their husband, or the other things I've been through in life.
Yes.
And so if you can relate, it's so nice to know that you're not in anything alone, that there are other people like writers. So nice to know that there are people, your listeners, that are, everybody's got a story, but not
Yes.
everybody writes their story.
Yes.
So good for everybody that's putting it on paper. I mean,
Yes.
it's amazing achievement for sure.
Yes. And when it comes to, also, this isn't nearly the level of, hardship that you had to go through, but for business people who are trying to start their business, and they're taking out loan after loan, and they're drowning in debt, and they're like, "Oh my God, what am I doing?" To read books and to know that, like, some of the most successful business people or public speakers, anything, to know that they went through these things and they came out the other side, and to share those stories, like you were saying, it's so important. So, again, thank you. And so I want to talk now about the both of your books. So the first was self-published. The second was traditionally published. So can you tell us the story of self-publishing the first, and then why traditionally published the second?
So my first book, I had no idea it was going to be a book because
Okay.
it is just all the writings that I did and sent out. And I just was encouraged by so many people to put it in a book so that it could be out there for other people. And so one of my friends happened to be in the printing business and got me hooked up with a cover designer and whatever, and got my book printed and got it out that way. And I really believe in self-publishing. I think it's a great way to go. That was in 2011. And self-publishing has come a long way since 2011.
Yes, it
Amazon
has.
makes it easy. People like you, I mean, everybody should use your service. People should just go to you because you help authors, and not everybody knows what they're doing. People don't know what they're doing. You're right. That's what you do. And
Yeah.
so you have all the other tools that people need. And so self-publishing is good. I mean, there's an upfront cost because you pay an editor. You pay for your own cover design. You pay for the layout, for a Kindle book. You pay, right? There's upfront money that you're going to lay out. And then with my second book, with traditionally published, it's very difficult. So I hear, to get a publisher to want to
Yes.
publish your book, unless you're Kim Kardashian or somebody with a big name,
Yeah.
right? It's hard to get published. And I got lucky, I guess. I put together a book proposal and had the first couple chapters of my book put together. And I gave it to two publishers and they both wanted it. And I know, like Chicken Soup for the Soul, I think 144
Yeah.
publishers turned them down. And
Yeah.
look, whatever, they've sold 500 million books. It's crazy. So it's, I just kind of got lucky, I guess.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that, because that's an anomaly. That's incredible to go 2 for 2. Typically, like you said, big books, Chicken Soup for the Soul, over 100 rejections, and yeah, many more famous books have had lots of rejections. So
Yeah,
congrats.
and the Green Gables. I mean, yeah, there's so many, right,
Yeah.
that have gone on to big fame. So
Right.
yes.
So since you've had this experience of working, like you said, self-publishing is everything up front. You pay for everything up front. Obviously, now with the internet and offshore talent, you can get discounted stuff, but you do pay for everything up front. And in exchange, you retain basically all of royalties, minus the cut, that goes to Amazon or Barnes and Noble, wherever else it goes. Whereas if you go with a traditional publisher, they pay for everything up front, but you have to split those royalties with them forever, into perpetuity. Now that you've been through both, obviously had success with both, what, I guess, for anyone listening, are there certain like paths that they desire that should steer them one way? Like, do you have advice for the listeners of you should go this way or the other way?
Yeah, I kind of do. I mean, traditionally published was nice. I mean, they gave me money up front, and then now I get royalty checks. My Love Is has been out for about a year. And so it's sold beyond my initial money that they gave me, which is great.
Yeah, that
doesn't
rarely
happen.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's nice that it's happening,
Yeah.
but I don't get much per book. Whereas my other book, I get a whole lot more because it's, printing cost and it's whatever. The nice part about traditionally published is that they do everything out front. They get it into the bookstores, they do that kind of thing, but they don't market you. Yeah, I also got lucky in that they really believed in my book. My publisher did, and so they hired an outside publicist. Normally the inside house publicist works with you, but they hired an outside publicist for the first 3 months. And so that was really nice to work
Yeah.
with her and her get me on some things and get my book out there. But then you're on your own. I mean, really, you're on your own. If you self-publish, I think my next book is going to be self-published. I'm not going to go the publishing route because books in general are a tool. It's Stephen King makes money. writing books, right? John
Yeah.
Grisham makes money writing books. There's the rare Stephen King and John Grisham,
Yeah.
right? That come out with book after book and are making millions of dollars. So it's not necessarily the book that makes you the money. It's the book that gives you the credibility, and it's the book that gets your foot in the door.
Yes.
So to have a book with your name on the front cover puts you in a different position than the other entrepreneur, the other business person who doesn't have a book to
Yes.
their name. So it's not necessarily about the money. So I think you work hard to earn your money back in a book, but you might earn it back a different way when you self-publish. It
Yes.
might not be how you expect. It might not be in the book sales. It might be in speaking opportunities or other business opportunities, coaching opportunities, or just getting more business for your business because now you are a published author.
Right. Excellent. All excellent points there. That's what we kind of always talk about on the show too, is that for, you know, if you self-publish and you keep that intellectual property and you say use that to repurpose it into speaking engagements, all that, you don't need to worry about book sales because, a book sale, you might make a couple dollars per sale. You have to really scale that if you want to make thousands or tens of thousands. Whereas if you write a book and it gets you inside the right event and on the right stage, you could make 10K, 15K in a day just from the one speaking, engagement. So, but it's a tool, right? And I like to hear, obviously, you had the publisher that you went with did great things. They got you an international book award, which again, I'm going to talk about here in a minute. But the fact that you still choose self-publishing says a lot. And like you said, it's come a long way since 2011. You self-published your first. I did mine in 2012, and it has come a very, very long way in 10 years. Um, so glad to
Yeah.
hear that.
Well,
But
and
yep,
and I didn't know about a company like yours at the time. And that would help me. So I was completely on my own, just floundering, just trying to figure it out. I would have loved to have worked with you
yeah.
to get your knowledge and the things that you have to offer within your company.
Yeah. Well, that's how we started anyway. That's how I started by, learn by doing in 2012, and then I was just constantly researching how do I do it better because my first book kind of fell on its face. And now here I am 10 years later with too much knowledge. Even though it's constantly changing the industry. So, but I want to hear, so you spoke about, the book being a tool. Um, Obviously that's helped your business. I hope your nonprofit. How else has the book as a tool helped you, whether it was like your brand or one of your businesses? How has it helped you to grow over the last few years?
Well, yeah, my brand at the beginning of 2022, the beginning of last year, I sold my businesses that were taking my time.
Okay.
And so that I was free to do this thing. And my book launched a year ago, December. So my timing was perfect. It was just wonderful. The timing of selling the businesses and whatever, and being able to devote time to what I'm doing. And because I have a book, I last year did over 250 interviews on
Wow.
podcasts, radio shows, TV shows, and I'm passionate about my message. And I think that's part of it too, is
Yeah.
you're right, because you're passionate about something that you want to share with the world.
Right.
You know something that if everybody else knew it, it would be a wonderful world, right? You could
Right.
change the world. And so like the things that I learned about love blew my mind. And people don't know what real love is. And so I'm very passionate about sharing that message. And so it's definitely opened doors. It's leading to bigger things, leading to speaking engagements, leading to a coaching business. I'm a love coach, and which I think is a rare thing. Really, I think I'm paving the way for love coaches.
Good.
But it's definitely changed everything. Yes, and given my nonprofit more exposure, and it's building my brand for sure.
That's excellent. Well, I'm really glad to hear all of that. And you're, selling businesses and then taking more time to do your nonprofit. But like you were saying, it's that message. Like my eyes were like lighting up as you were saying that, because that's the message that I and our company constantly tries to push out there. Is that there was a study where 81% of people, it was Americans, 81% of people interviewed or asked said that they had a book idea. They wanted to write a book. And then those same 81%, when asked, have you written a book? Only 8% actually have like started, have written the book. So there's such a wide gap there. And it's because this, like you and I have been talking about, there's so much has happened in the last 10 years of self-publishing and writing a book. But many people still have this idea that like you have to, how do I even begin to write the first draft? And then what do I do with it after I have the first draft? There's so many questions. So that's the gap that I'm trying to close, that we're trying to close here. But again, it's the message. Like I'm just trying to shout it from the rooftops. But
Yeah, which is
yeah,
such a wonderful thing that you do, to close that gap, to help people. And I do think there's another reason why people write books, and it's their legacy,
yes,
talking about their own story. And that book maybe only goes out to the family.
yes,
Not every author writes thinking I'm going to sell tens of thousands of books. I mean, I think the average book sells 250 or something. What is that, the number?
yeah,
So, you don't necessarily write planning on writing a lot of books, but what a wonderful legacy to tell your family's story in a book,
yes,
and for your family is a wonderful thing.
yes. Yes, very true. So speaking of books and being wonderful things, I keep talking about this book award. So now I want to hear the story. So your book, it's now on your cover on your website, which we'll share at the end and put in the show notes. But tell us about, because we all want to win an award. We all want to. You put so much work into writing this book, right? And to have this award now on it, be a part of it, it's more than just a vanity metric, right? Anyone who writes a
Right.
book knows that it's more than just being, having that label. But tell us about the story, how it happened, and yeah, just tell us everything that happened.
Yeah, I think it's not about vanity, it's a different V word, it's validation.
I like
When
that.
my book started selling and it sold a higher number than the number of friends that I have, then I thought, "Oh my gosh, strangers are reading it."
Yeah.
How great that strangers are reading it. And so there are a lot of book awards out there, and you apply for them. People don't just randomly find your book. So you can submit your book to different book awards.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I was thrilled to get the International Book Award. That was just so validating. It,
Yes.
it felt great to get that award. And it is something that I put in for, but hundreds, thousands of books are received. And so to win, that was fun. It was good. I liked it.
That yes. Well, congratulations. And again, I'm glad
Thank
for
you.
you. It's not a vanity metric, it's validation that all of your hard work, everything that you went through in the years prior paid off. So again, congratulations to that. So where you're a love coach, your nonprofit, you're writing, like what's next for you?
Well, I think speaking is going to be the thing. I'm getting speaking engagements for this year because, like I said, I'm
Good.
so passionate about sharing what I know, and love is universal, right? So it's business. It's you don't hang it up at the door when you walk in your office. It's everything. And I am co-authoring a book on grief with a medium, a friend of mine who's a medium. And so that's really fun.
Good.
And I'm writing Love is for Kids because the earlier you know about love, I think the better. And so that's a fun project. And I love connecting people. I love helping people any way that I can. And so I do get authors calling sometimes saying, "Hey, how did you do that?" Or "What are you doing there?" And I can say, "Well, you need to call John. He'll help you out."
Yes, and good. That's more validation too if fellow authors are reaching out, wanting to be where you are. So thank you for sharing all of that. Where can people, listeners, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
Well, my last name is a little ridiculous because it has way too many letters. There are two R's, two E's, two L's. So it's Sorrelle. So kimsorrelle.com is my website. I am all over social media. Love is my book has a dark blue cover, a great big huge Love is. If you Google Love is, chances are you're going to find me. So it's an easy thing to remember. Love is. So you can find me that way. And I love connecting with people. I have a free 14-day love challenge on my website. And it's just learning something new about love each day and putting it into practice. So it's just a little thing to read and then think about throughout the day. And it is free on my website. And anybody who signs up for the love challenge, I will send a free WWLD, What Would Love Do wristband. Because if you can remember to respond in love, you're going to be responding the right way.
That is a very nice message. And thank you for that. And for the listeners, I will place all this inside the show description so that if you need to get to those links, you can click on them. And then again, as Kim was saying throughout the show, the effects of a book, how positive it can be for your life, for your business. So for anyone listening, again, if you want to start writing your book, visionaryliterary.com/free book. And Kim, again, congrats for everything that you've gone through. You deserve all the validation that you've been receiving. So thank you for coming on the show, for sharing all of your insight with us. We very, very much appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you having me. I appreciate the opportunity. It's wonderful talking to you. You're so easy to talk to. Your show is great. People should put it on the top of their podcast list. It's inspirational. I think authors need inspiration because sometimes it's hard to get motivated to actually write.
It is.
So thank you for what you do.
It is. Thank you again, Kim.